Hello everybody, I am here at the Freusburg in Germany at a furry convention called Mephit Mini Con. And it is a bit of a tradition that all the puppeteers from your ferns gather together for a little meet-up at an afternoon, and that's what you can see here. So what we are going to do today is we are all bringing our props and technical implements and our projects and update each other about the progress and show the toys that we've come up with. And we are also going to use the occasion to go into a bit of the planning, maybe talk a little bit of the script, and do it all in a relaxed atmosphere with a bottle of cider. So this is Rangerik, a good friend of mine. He in the past has worked with us as a 3D artist. He's mainly been responsible for the opening titles of Juno Rising.
Show,
It's the third day of the con here. My brain is barely working. So what we have here is a scale model for a prop. This is actually half the size it is going to be in its final iteration. The furries in our story were once made by the humans, and this is part of the experiment.
Yeah, we are basically going to have 3 of these, so you can see the 3 stages of the development. Or am I spoiling too much?
Oh,
I don't know.
Keep going.
You can cut it out. We tried to see if we could do it with 3D printer. So this is basically just FDM printed in 3 parts. And we used a little bit of epoxy to hide the seams of the 3 parts. Then filed down the epoxy so you get a smooth surface, and then sprayed it all with filler so it would get the even surface and you wouldn't see all the seams all that much. I learned a lot from the prototype, so I hope the final version will be better, but we'll see.
So the next challenge will be to make this at the original size, which will be 4 times the volume and double the size. Once again, a very good example of puppet show madness going on, because these things will probably be on stage for like 8 minutes or so.
It's worth it.
Yeah. What else do we have for nice stuff? What's the harmonica? Can you explain the harmonica to me?
That's little one of the bone chillers, our little creature monster stuff. Can you explain?
Yeah, I totally love the air hose thing going on.
Yeah, this is quite idea to make them a little bit flexible, and and we have even a bigger one. This is only the small of the ones, and we have another one. This is 4 times bigger. Actually, the muzzle is open, the jaw is open. It will be controllable by control on this hand, so you can open and close the muzzle. So for
the mechanics
jaws.
is still missing.
No, the camera.
It's really rough prototypes. The first thing to get the feeling of it. It's typical showcase.
It lacks the mechanics, so. Later with the mechanics, it should be able to
Ist ein Ohrwurm jetzt, genau.
Was ist das Wort? Ein Ohrwurm?
Ich verspitze Klammern auf. Aber das funktioniert erstaunlich gut. Also von daher, ich habe jetzt...
This being a show that takes place in the Arctic, one of the things we need is snow. And we have different sorts of snow here that we are going to try sooner or later. This is the more coarse stuff here. This is actually made of starch, so it's biodegradable. And it feels a little bit like Feels a little bit like paper. That's snow. Let it snow. And this is snow that is more made for decorations and for actually gluing it onto things. This is basically shredded plastic, and yeah, it falls a little bit unrealistic, I think. And the other alternative that we have is plain old confetti. So basically shredded pieces of paper. I'm not looking forward to the mess this is going to create, because if we have falling snow made of any of these materials, it will end up all over the place, and we have to get it vacuumed before the next scene. And well, any volunteers? No, doesn't look like it. We will find someone.
Okay, so one central prop for the story is a recording crystal this time around. I made 2 size samples basically, just 3D printed, you see, just normal colored filament. We want these to light up though. I will make a new one, basically size-wise between those 2, so you can see it from the audience. And the idea is, because we want them to glow, that I'll actually make a silicon mold of the 3D printed part and then fill it with clear resin. And then we can just put the LEDs, one like those for example, in the mold, fill it, and then it will glow and hopefully give us a nice effect, and look for it in the show. Another fun thing we want to try this show is we got UWB beacons basically. UWB is ultra wideband. It's a relatively new technology and readily available to consumers, luckily, for a couple euros basically, which allows us to do centimeter accurate tracking on the stage. And we want to try some nice video technology stuff like video monitoring for the pawpeteers. But for that we need to know where you are on the stage, and these modules will hopefully help us with that. So we still need to try them and validate that it works, but from everything we've seen, should work. Let's see, and we will definitely talk about that once we have more.
This is one of the main cast of the new show. We will have a little love story with 2 links, if you are into links. So you will not be disappointed. It's the standard Theo's design that I adapted to this. It's the standard cat printed head, and yes, by now it's our standard design, and it has been proven in several shows as very sturdy. And yeah, this is the first that has been finished. The second one, the female lynx, is still in construction, and it's very promising, but that is Runo's part. Maybe he will tell us something about female main role.
Basically, I'm also building a puppet now, and I'm approaching the puppet design from a bit of another angle than Theo usually does, because I'm a puppeteer as well. I usually see a lot of things that we could do different to make the puppets easier to play and to reach the kind of effects that we want while playing them. And one of the things that I noticed over the last few years is that it's very, very problematic over longer times if you have to play a puppet like this with your hand at a very steep angle. For one, you're cutting off your blood supply when you tilt your hand like that. It's much more natural to have the hand straight. And the other is that the angle your thumb usually moves is side to side and not up and down. That's something I try to incorporate into the design of this puppet head. But when you play it with a straight hand, and you have a pedal that you press side to side with your thumb. to close the mouth, and that leads to a much more natural playing that hopefully means it's less strenuous and makes it easier to play the long scenes that we often have. Another thing is that I, of course, because of what the character will be, I really wanted the ears to move, so they are articulated as well in this design. It's just a mock-up in tape right now to make the pattern for the fur, but yeah, basically the ears will be able to tilt back and to come back up. Oh, another thing I changed is usually we use the kind of Bowden cables that bikes use for the brakes. They are very good in what they do, but they are also heavy because they are made from metal. So what I tried this time around is use PTFE tube, like you use in 3D printers, and I have a fishing line inside them made of nylon, which is much lighter than the usual metal Bowden cables. Another thing that I noticed is that often our arms tend to bend backwards. It's hard to keep them controlled in every situation, so the elbow joint is now restricted, that it doesn't move side to side and it doesn't move back. It can only move the same way as a real elbow joint can. Same with the hand. I usually build my hands with a mechanism that the rods, I don't know how well you can see it, but the rods can rotate in it so that when you put the arm of the puppet up, the rod can go straight down and you don't have to hold the rod like this. And she has very strong magnets in her paws because she'll have to hold a few things like a blind man's cane, and those have to attach securely to the hands, so she has pretty strong magnets in her paws right now. That's basically all that I can say to this buddy right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
So, what are we seeing here? This looks silly, doesn't it? Because it's a little box with 4 buttons and that little box with blinking lights and that little display. And if you push a button here, it shows you which button you have pressed. And this is, well, if you look at it, it looks like it's way too much effort for a very simple problem. But here's the idea. For the puppet show, we often need sound effects to be triggered by someone with a remote control. And the challenge is if you have a remote control that works over radio. And we've had the problem that everything works during the rehearsal and under laboratory conditions, and it suddenly starts getting very unreliable under real stage condition. And all of us have no knowledge about RF stuff, so we can't debug that problem. So we came up with the idea. What would happen if we use a known reliable radio transmission like our radio microphones that we're using on stage? They come with a body pack and a clip-on microphone and a very, very sophisticated receiver system that has a very complicated antenna system, and it basically works flawlessly. So what this does is, this little box here creates a sound, basically a 9 kHz sound signal, which has the buttons presses modulated onto it via frequency shift keying. And it sends that sound, that tone, out through this RCA jack. And in theory, it should be able to plug this into the body pack of a wireless microphone. And this little box decodes the sound that this little box makes and reconstructs which buttons has been pressed. So this would go into the control booth and basically wire into the mixing desk, and would reliably, through the microphone connections that we already have, receive the button presses. And this is my silly prototype I built for this. This is essentially an Arduino Uno. So that's one of these little guys. It's like a little toy prototyping platform. You can buy like, you used to be able to buy for like 20 euros or so. The decoding part is a little bit more sophisticated. So I'm using this. This is like a Arduino Duo. It's like a 80 megahertz Cortex M, and this works nicely for the prototype, and we're quite happy. What we did here today for testing is we're taking the signal and sending it through like a microphone input into Icefog's karaoke mixer, and
yeah, we can do all kind of stuff to it, and nothing can phase it.
yeah,
Except the face.
except the face. So I'm telling Icefog to mangle the signal as hard as he can, and we can see how reliable it is over the audio connection. So and here we are at the end of the evening. We've done a lot of work, had a lot of fun here. All the pawpeteers, can you wave? Thanks to all our supporters, you're awesome, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Die haben eine Abteilung, die das